Apologies for that yawn, Jesus. I thought I would do a nice, simple, easy video today. Nothing all too strenuous. Firstly, I want to thank you for all the amazing support as of recently on kind of just random manga videos that I've been doing. I've been reading a lot of stuff, so I wanted to talk about that stuff, and a lot of you have enjoyed it, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. I am currently within the next batch of stuff that I plan to read and talk about and make videos on, so hopefully it's going to be interesting and potentially some more series that you can find out about or enjoy or just discuss. So that should be fun. Today I wanted to talk about Chainsaw Man, just have a nice simple conversation about it this year in terms of its title or its franchise, and potentially even reminisce on how long it's been since it actually released and ended. I think for a lot of people, Chainsaw Man was a surprise. When it released on December 3rd, 2018, no one really knew that it would be the next big series. It felt unique, it felt interesting, it felt refreshing, and yet still it was so unpredictable. It was a story published within Weekly Shonen Jump, but had no redeeming qualities of Weekly Shonen Jump stories. Obviously there's general overlap within writing. Fujimoto handled his stories prior to that, Fire Punch, which in retrospect is completely different than anything you've probably read. Personally, I didn't touch Fire Punch till after Chainsaw Man, and I can see his growth from there, and it's been exponential. Fire Punch was rough, but it is still a very enjoyable experience, and one that has kind of tailored his direction for future literature works. Chainsaw Man may be the next series that's long running for him, and has definitely perfected his craft within it, but arguably it might not even be his prime. He created a one-shot very recently, within the past year or so, called Look Back, which kind of shook the world a little bit. It was very simple in its approach. It wasn't like a revolutionary concept or anything, but I think it just surprised a lot of people that Fujimoto had so much versatility within his writing, which isn't to say that it wasn't ever there, because it definitely was within Fire Punch, within Chainsaw Man, but it just felt right within Look Back. It felt very purposeful, it felt unique and compelling, and just the time that it came out, everyone wanted it. It released within that perfect time, and all across the world, authors indulged within it. Most notably, one of them, Ino Asano, the author of Oyasumi Punpun, gave it very high praise. That's a great accomplishment. Fujimoto is only relatively new within the manga industry, yet his opening years within here has been some of the most fruitful for him. He has shown on many different accounts, in many different places, in many different aspects, that this person can write a story, that they can change, they can evolve, they can adapt, they can do anything they want and still be just as creative and unique. And people wanted that, and they most definitely got it. It's crazy to think that it's been over 3 years since Chainsaw Man released, and over a year since it's been ended. Feels like it was only last year we were all indulging within Chainsaw Man's glory and its beautiful storytelling and the experience that it offered, but in reality it was 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. In that sense, 2022 is shaping up to be a big year for Chainsaw Man. So if you are a fan of it, if you love the franchise, if it's something that you're looking forward to, you have a lot of great things coming your way. 2022 is the year for it. After the year hiatus that we got from Fujimoto and the Chainsaw Man franchise, and only having Look Back and a couple other bits and pieces within there to work with, finally our patience has paid off. So from what we know, there is 3 things that are coming this year. Chainsaw Man Part 2, Chainsaw Man's anime, and a new one-shot from Fujimoto. And we do have some sort of a time frame for all of these things. So Chainsaw Man Part 2, the manga, which is obviously the sequel to Chainsaw Man, is meant to be releasing sometime within summer. So obviously within the middle of the year somewhere. However, this time it's not going to be published on Weekly Shonen Jump. That's where Chainsaw Man was, but now it is jumping over to Jump Plus and will be published very similar to Dan and a lot of other series, Kaiju Number 8, Spy X Family, within Manga Plus, which is the official place you'll most likely be able to read it for free. This realistically shouldn't change all too much. You're probably asking, why should I even care about that? But it does open up more doors, more avenues, more comfortable things, and more differing ways that Fujimoto can approach his type of storytelling. Chainsaw Man, I don't want to say was very restricted within Weekly Shonen Jump, but in comparison to the things being done within Fire Punch, there is a lot of avenues that I believe Fujimoto wants to touch on, and with restrictions and guidelines and obviously age brackets and ratings, etc., it's a little bit more difficult to maneuver around. So in Jump Plus, which is very free with their age bracket and doesn't really have any restrictions whatsoever in that sense, you're looking at a lot more flexibility. I think this also helps in terms of comfort, being able to take more breaks and taking a week or a month off, etc., etc., just to reset yourself. The manga industry can be very grueling. This will all aid and benefit Chainsaw Man Part 2. I can guarantee you this. So while the story may not be completely new or revolutionary or changed from what it was, you may notice things are more fleshed out in a pretty gritty way. Basically taking what we know with Chainsaw Man and amplifying it with some extra extremes. This is a good thing. Before we get Chainsaw Man Part 2, we're actually getting a one-shot. At least we're meant to be. This is somewhat the timeline for it currently. This one-shot isn't indicative to the Chainsaw Man franchise or even Look Back, but it's going to be similar to Look Back, I assume, with just it being a random one-shot story. This is meant to be coming out in the next handful of months. It's meant to come out before Chainsaw Man Part 2, so when you start to see things from Fujimoto in terms of this brand new one-shot, you'll know that Part 2 isn't all too far behind it. In regards to what this one-shot could be, I'm not entirely sure. I would expect something potentially similar to Look Back. Nothing revolutionary, nothing all too crazy, but just a nice singular story, flexing his own writing and getting used to it once again, which I think is perfectly normal, perfectly fine. Then lastly is obviously the anime. This is going to be probably the most defining feature for a lot of people. Chainsaw Man's anime is something that is very highly anticipated, and we know that we are getting it sometime this year. They might be trying to release it at the same time, so Part 2 and the anime being very close would be perfect for building hype and excitement. Realistically, however, I could see its anime releasing potentially more so at the end of the year, around about October. Would kind of fall in line with Bleach as well. That's just a random guess. It honestly could come out in the next handful of months, we don't know, but I'm positive we'll get some small bits and pieces of information for it soon. It's a great time to be a Chainsaw Man fan. It's a great time to be a Fujimoto fan. The anime is going to be a massive step up for it. I'm really hoping the best for it. I'm really hoping it opens up the community again and allows a flood of new people to come in and indulge within the animation industry and potentially the manga industry as well. Similar to Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen and Tokyo Revengers, Chainsaw Man's pretty much next in line. And I think you'll see a similar response, if not higher response, to it. I expect a lot of people are going to be talking about it. A lot of people are going to be making videos on it. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, etc, etc. Like, it's probably going to be everywhere. And I couldn't be more excited to see that reception. On both its anime front and its manga front, but also potentially his new one-shot. To end this off, because I don't want to drag it on for all too long, when I first read Chainsaw Man, it kind of re-sparked my enjoyment for super creative storytelling. Stuff that feels fun and unique and refreshing and just has these very odd or weird concepts that theoretically shouldn't work together, but somehow Fujimoto just makes it mesh and mold, and he extrapolates it so well so it is amplified and enthralling and intoxicating to read. I remember reading Chainsaw Man and just feeling like this was something that I've been missing for a long time. That while I was reading incredible stories, Chainsaw Man just felt perfect for myself. It provided basically every single quality that I love within literature, within manga specifically, and just giving it to me, all of it, on a silver platter right in front of me. So I could just indulge constantly with this world, with its characters, with its themes and its concepts. And I think that's one of the greatest things about Chainsaw Man, is that you can read it so many different ways. Literature or stories in itself is inherently interpretive. That's kind of the whole point. There's kind of two massive ways that you can read Chainsaw Man, with everything in between. On one hand, you can just take it at face value, the chaotic storytelling experience that it is, that's potentially really fun and maybe a little bit too corny for yourself, which is perfectly fine. But then on the other hand, everything underneath that story, everything underneath that chaos and intensity is such a well understanding of emotional depth, trauma, abuse, mental health, humanity, all of these highly conceptual and thematical elements combining together to create the foundation of what Chainsaw Man truly is. Denji's character specifically is one that a lot of people just gloss over, and someone that is just a simple boy that is a little bit silly or a little bit dumb. Yet if you dive just a little bit underneath the surface, if you want to, if that's something you're comfortable with, you realize that his past is indicative to why he is the way he is. It's a legitimate thing. It's a traumatizing experience that has stunted his growth, and it's not obnoxiously there for you. It's not going to handhold you to this decision, but it's there if you do want to. And this is something that Fujimoto does extremely well, is that he kind of weaves a handful of different ways to interpret his stories, and that if you don't want to see the grand full picture, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to. You can just enjoy it for what it's worth. He done the exact same thing with Fire Punch, his previous work. And that was a little bit more obnoxious in the sense of showing you that there's more deeper themes here other than just the simple, very obnoxiously silly characters within it. That they all had some relatability and authenticity grounded into this foundation, whether it be trauma or anxiety or abuse, some sort of mental health or some sort of concept surrounding one's humanity or one's self-worth, ego, etc. There's so many different themes that go in there that just evolve together with the story in such a beautiful way. I guess a simple way to put it is that Chainsaw Man is as complex as you want it to be. You can apply that sentiment to pretty much every single story you read, but it feels right at home with Chainsaw Man. Undoubtedly, it's going to be a good year, and I think a lot of us are super excited to see what Fujimoto brings to the table with part 2 and how the anime blows up the industry once again. I, for one, am waiting very eagerly for it. Endtime. So welcome to the end of the video. If you have made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you. I know it's not a crazy brand new series type of video, so I do apologize, but there'll be more of that within the future. Don't worry. I appreciate all the support as of recently. I would love to know what you're most excited for in terms of Chainsaw Man or Fujimoto works. Definitely let me know in the comment section below. But with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Drink plenty of water, and I will see you within the next one. Goodbye.